It didn't happen all at once. That's the thing no one tells you about losing everything sometimes. It comes in pieces, tiny fractures, subtle shifts, a friendship that grows distant, an opportunity that vanishes without warning, a prayer that stays unanswered longer than it should. One day, you realize the life you once trusted to hold you has started to slip through your fingers. That was me, trying to hold everything together with hands that were already bleeding from the effort. At first, I told myself it was just a season, that I was strong, that it would pass. But as time went on, the cracks grew deeper. The people I thought would never leave did. The plans I was sure were from God collapsed. The strength I once wore like armor faded. I didn't even notice it fully at first. Because when you're in survival mode, you don't stop to grieve what you're losing. You just keep moving, keep pretending, keep hoping the next thing will fix what's quietly falling apart. But one morning, I woke up and felt it in my chest. Emptiness, not sadness, not fear, just nothing. I looked around my life and realized so much of what once defined me was gone. The roles I played, the titles I held, the people who made me feel needed, the plans that gave me direction, gone. And underneath all of it, a question started forming, a question I didn't want to say out loud. What happens when everything you built your life on disappears? I wasn't questioning circumstances anymore. I was questioning myself. Who was I without their love? Without the job? Without the purpose? Without the answers? And most terrifying of all, who was I if I couldn't even feel God anymore? That thought echoed louder than anything else. Because it's one thing to lose people, it's another to feel like you've lost him. And in that moment, surrounded by the rubble of what used to be stable, I whispered something I never thought I'd say. I think I've lost everything. I didn't know then that those words would become the doorway to discovering something I had never truly seen. There's a moment in grief that's hard to explain. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's when you realize you're not just mourning what was lost. You're mourning who you were when you had it. That was me. I wasn't just grieving the people who left or the plans that didn't work out. I was grieving a version of myself that used to feel secure, sure of who she was, sure of where she was going, sure of who she was in God's eyes. But when the foundation cracked, it didn't just take the structure, it took me with it. I stopped recognizing myself, stopped trusting my voice, stopped dreaming altogether. Because what's the point in dreaming when everything you reach for slips away? I didn't have a breakdown. There was no meltdown moment, no dramatic collapse. I just faded into autopilot, into numbness, into a version of faith that looked strong from the outside but felt paper thin on the inside. I showed up, sang the songs, read the verses. But underneath it all, I was asking questions I didn't dare speak. Is this what it looks like when God steps back? Is he letting this happen? Did I do something wrong? Loss has a way of peeling back everything that felt safe until all that's left is your raw, intended soul. And when that happened, I didn't feel holy. I didn't feel hopeful. I felt hollow. I kept thinking, maybe if I just try harder, I can get it all back. But no matter how hard I tried, the things I lost didn't return. And worse, I started to believe they weren't supposed to. That maybe what I called my life was never really mine to begin with. It's a terrifying place to be when even your pain starts to feel like proof that God has gone quiet. And that's what I believed, that everything was gone. The people, the plans, the purpose, and God. What I didn't know then was that even in the silence, even in the spaces I swore were empty, something was still there. Not something. Someone. But it would take complete stillness to realize he had never left. It's a strange thing when the place that used to feel full of faith starts to echo. I didn't mean to drift away from God. I didn't wake up one day and say, I don't believe anymore. It was more subtle than that, more quiet, like a house I used to visit every day. And then, little by little, I just stopped going because something inside me had shifted. The faith that once felt alive and intimate now felt mechanical, predictable, empty. I would whisper prayers, but they sounded like recycled lines instead of relationship. I'd sit in services but feel like I was watching someone else's encounter. I wasn't mad at God. I wasn't even disappointed. I was disconnected. And the more I felt that disconnection, the more shame I carried. Because people like me, the faithful, the mature, the ones who used to lead others, aren't supposed to feel this lost. But I was, deeply. I stopped asking God to speak, stopped asking Him to move. Because when you stop expecting, you stop being disappointed. I convinced myself it was just a season, a dry spell. It would pass. But deep down, I wondered if I'd lost something essential, something I couldn't get back. The saddest part wasn't the silence. It was how normal it started to feel. I told myself, maybe this is what happens. Maybe your faith gets older, colder, less intense. But deep inside, a part of me whispered, no, this isn't it. There has to be more than this. I didn't know what to do with that whisper, didn't know how to respond. So I stayed still, not out of peace, but out of paralysis. I hadn't walked away from God, but I wasn't chasing Him anymore either. And in that tension between what I once felt and what I couldn't feel now, my soul waited. I thought everything was gone, even faith, even Him. But something was about to change, not through a sermon, not through a breakthrough, but through something far quieter, far closer, something I had forgotten how to recognize. Rock bottom isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just still, so still it scares you. No tears left, no words to say, no fire, no fight, just breath, just existence, just there. That's where I was, not in rebellion, not in crisis, just numb. The kind of numbness that wraps itself around your bones and makes everything feel muted. I wasn't angry at God. I wasn't even reaching for Him. I was just surviving, waking up, moving through the day, laying down, repeat. It wasn't depression exactly. It was disconnection. Like someone had unplugged the part of me that used to believe I was part of something bigger. And I remember one night, lying on my back, staring at the ceiling, and thinking, if this is what life is now, I'm not sure I want it. Not in a dramatic, end everything kind of way, but in a quiet, slow bleed of hope kind of way. Like I had nothing left to look forward to, nothing to rebuild with, nothing sacred left in me. I wasn't questioning if God was real. I was questioning if He still cared. Because if He did, why did everything feel so silent, so heavy, so gone? I closed my eyes that night and whispered nothing. No prayer, no plea, just a silence. Back to the silence I was swimming in. And then, in that fragile, breathless place, something flickered. Not hope, not clarity, just a presence, soft, unmoving, unspoken. It didn't speak words. It didn't make promises. It just was. Like someone had entered the room and sat beside me without needing to be seen. I didn't respond. I wasn't even sure I could. But I felt it. The quietest comfort. The gentlest weight. A peace that didn't fix anything but made the ache a little more bearable. And in that moment, I began to realize something I hadn't dared consider. Maybe I hadn't lost everything. Maybe someone had stayed. In the following days, I didn't tell anyone what happened that night. Not because it was too dramatic, but because it felt too fragile to explain. How do you describe a presence that said nothing, yet meant everything? How do you explain a whisper of peace in the middle of nothing changing? I didn't want to overthink it, didn't want to chase it like a high, but I couldn't shake it either. Something had been there, someone, and not just once. I started to notice it again, in the smallest spaces, in the pause before sleep, in the quiet moments between thoughts, in the ache that still lingered, but no longer felt abandoned. It didn't speak in language, it didn't shout through answers, but it stayed. And the more I leaned into it, the more I realized this presence had been there the whole time. Not just in my worship, not just in my strong seasons, but in the grief, in the silence, in the numbness. I had thought He left because I stopped feeling Him, but He never equated love with performance. He never needed me to be on fire to remain faithful. That gentle presence, the one I'd overlooked, assumed I'd lost, had never taken a step away. He had been sitting in the ashes with me. He had wept when I did. He had stayed when I gave up. I used to measure God by what He fixed, but now I saw Him in what He never let go of. Me, not the polished version, not the one with all the answers, the hollow, breathless, aching version. The one who felt empty, but was still deeply held. That's when it started to dawn on me. I hadn't lost everything, because the one thing that mattered most never left. I used to think God left when the light went out, when the doors closed, when the people I loved walked away, because he felt tied to all those things: my joy, my security, my sense of direction. So when they disappeared, it only made sense that he did too. But the truth is, I stopped noticing him. I stopped looking, stopped expecting, because pain narrows your vision. It doesn't let you see clearly. It filters every moment through fear, every silence through shame. And when I felt like God had gone quiet, I filled the space with my own conclusions. He must be disappointed in me. Maybe I missed my chance. I don't feel him, so he must not be here. But I was wrong. He wasn't absent. He was hidden in plain sight. In the quiet breath I managed to take on days I didn't think I'd make it. In the small grace of someone texting, "Hey, just thinking of you." In the fact that even when I didn't want to go on, something in me still did. He was there, not forcing his way in, not demanding attention, just staying, present, patient, persistent in his gentleness. And when I finally slowed down enough, when I stopped trying to rebuild everything I lost and just sat with what remained, I saw him. Not where I expected, but exactly where I needed. Not fixing my pain, but filling the space where pain had made room for him. He wasn't gone. He had never left. He had been speaking the whole time. I just needed silence long enough to hear what he'd been saying all along. I am still here. When I look back now, I can still see everything I lost. The people, the opportunities, the dreams that never turned into reality. I see the version of me that once felt confident, clear, whole. And sometimes there's still a sting, a flicker of what if, a trace of ache. But it's different now, because I also see what I found. Not in a loud, miraculous way, not in a movie-worthy transformation, but in quiet ways, real ways, sacred ways. I found the kind of peace that isn't built on circumstances, the kind of identity that doesn't crumble when someone else walks away. I found a God who doesn't always rescue me from the fire, but sits beside me in it, who doesn't always answer the questions, but stays through the silence, who doesn't need me to perform, to prove, to pretend. He just wants me, as I am, here, now. I thought I needed answers. I thought I needed clarity. But what I really needed was presence. And that's what I got. A nearness I can't explain. A healing I didn't see happening until I realized I was breathing differently, standing taller, carrying peace in places that used to hold panic. What I lost, yes, it mattered. But what I found matters more. Because now, I know, even when everything else is stripped away, he remains. I no longer define my life by what didn't work out. I define it by what held me together when everything fell apart. And it wasn't my strength. It wasn't my plan. It was his presence, quiet, constant, unshakable. If you've reached the part of your story where everything feels like it's gone, where the people are no longer there, the plans have collapsed, and the silence is louder than ever, I want to whisper something to you that I wish someone had told me sooner. You haven't lost everything, because he never left. Not when they did. Not when you stopped feeling. Not when you stopped asking. Not when your faith went quiet. He stayed. He stayed through the ache, through the numbness, through the nights you couldn't pray. And I know it might not look like healing yet. It might not feel like hope yet. But his presence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just there, sitting beside your brokenness, breathing through your pain, waiting patiently, not for you to fix yourself, but to notice he never moved. You might have lost people, plans, pieces of yourself, but the one who holds your heart never loosened his grip. And maybe this is the beginning, not of rebuilding everything exactly the same, but of discovering that the most important thing, the only thing that truly lasts, has been with you all along. So if all you can do today is breathe, breathe with this truth. You haven't lost everything. You still have him, and he's more than enough to carry you through.